August 31st Intermediate Planning Webinar. Today we're going to be going over zone-specific specialty crops for 2017. And primarily what we're going to be looking at today is adding an oat crop where typically where we have what we call a loadout zone in our fields where we've seeded it down due to either compaction, being an old building site, what have you. And so for our agenda today, we're going to have our introduction that we're going through now, then identify possible areas within a field where a specialty crop can be placed, such as select and work scenarios representing standard assumptions and associated cost, and then compare ROI on zones and scenarios. And then we'll follow up with any questions anyone might have regarding this scenario. So, and I do want to mention that we are in Q&A mode. So if you have any questions throughout this webinar, please feel free to type your questions in the chat box below. You can see my contact information. My email is dj@agsolver.com. Or if you want to email the support team in Ames, their email is support@agsolver.com. And then finally, you can give me a call. My cell phone number is 319-238-1978. So we'll hop into Profit Zone Manager. And what we have here is a field that my family operates. And so this is about a 113 acre field. This field is actually an old seed corn field. So you can see the barrier rows around the outside. And down in the southwest corner here, this is what we call our loadout zone. So in 2015, we had beans on this entire field. And so from the heavy compaction of machines, grain carts, what have you, this southwest corner, and it also used to be an old building site. In 2015, we actually just quit farming that altogether and then seeded that down to a waterway mix. Just from the simple standpoint that looking at prior years yield data, when it was corn or soybeans, this area really had a hard time producing a crop for a couple different reasons. It was an old building site. You sit there, compaction, and then when we tore down the buildings, of course, we buried them right there. So, and then due to that, there's also some driveways. So it's just areas where it's, for us, not really suitable for crops. Looking back at the prior yield data, this is an area that typically only yielded right around 20 bushel soybeans. Corn production was there. We could produce corn, 175 to 100, 180, 85. And so, but the struggle is, especially with a commodity like soybeans, we just thought, in those years, maybe we should just take that acreage out of production, and then in the corn years, put that back into corn production. So, but what we're going to do now is model up what 2017 could turn into with 2017 commodity prices along with 2017 input prices. Then instead of planting another grass waterway mix here, just seeded, we're actually going to look at planting oats and pulling off the oat grain, and then also harvesting the straw and then sell that to a local dairy or beef producer in this area. And so what we're first going to do is copy a scenario and base it off of our 2015. So actual production 2015, we'll call this 2017 soybean planting scenario. Go ahead and save. And what we're doing, we're creating a carbon copy of our 2015 actual production soybean scenario and renaming it. So it's the same profit map, same data analytics as below here and as in our 2015 actual production scenario. But now what we're going to do, we're going to change the budget. So we'll come in here, edit budget. So say instead of $9.43. We'll drop that down. Say we have a big bean crop this year, we'll come in at $9.25. Equipment is primarily going to seed cost right in line. That $63 is what we're planning. Fertilizer, 48 again. Herbicide and insecticide, we're actually going to bump that up to $65. Insurance, instead of 85%, we'll cut back to 80%. And so when we're in soybean production, we haul straight to the local elevator. And so trucking is already included on that. We don't store any soybeans over throughout the year. Land cost, this is an owned farm, so land cost is $200. Actually, for 2017, that will be $180 now. Labor is still going to be at $20. And then we have overhead, home, personal at 0, custom hire 0, and then others, that's at $15. So we'll go ahead and click save. Create our 2017 planning scenario. And this is basing it off of that we can produce 52 bushel soybeans again. And so relatively strong profit, but this area down here, this is where, primarily the reason why that's red is we don't have any revenue on that area. Since we don't have a crop on that, we have an expense. So right now we're looking for a crop where we can put it into, get some type of revenue off of that area. So what we're going to do now is add a zone. And then click on our add zone, or excuse me, our drawing tool, the polygon here. And we'll come in and we're just going to be placing points. And this area is usually at most about 1.5 acres. So then also in 2017, this field, we will have a soybean plot on this area, so you can use the harvested the oats area where we pulled off the oats for parking for vehicles. And so what we'll have here, we're going to just name this zone oat crop. And we've actually started doing this in the majority of our fields where we've raised oats anywhere from 5 to 12 acres, and then we harvest the grain, harvest the straw. And primarily we do this in the heavy compacted areas. We have done this on some smaller fields because we were looking at a third crop oat rotation. And so when we define an average yield, we can on average produce a yield for oats anywhere from 80 to 100 bushels. So we're going to just select 90 bushel oats that we're anticipated in raising. Next commodity price, look, it's at $2.25 a bushel. Other revenue, this is where we're going to be baling the oat straw. And so typically, and based off of 2015, and we can usually get about 1.5 bales per acre. So that comes to, each bale is about $22. And then, you take that added bale or half a bale, and so add another $11. So for baling, that can provide a profit of $33 an acre. Equipment. So we're going to pull off combine. And we will re-add these expenses because we do have another neighbor come in, windrow and combine and bale all the oats. So grain cart, that planter, actually that will be at $9. What we'll do, we'll use a no-till drill to seed the oats. Seed cost for the oats is actually at $25. Fertilizer, we're still going to fertilize that area of the field. Herbicide, insecticide, we're going to once. It'll be at $5. Insurance, still at 18, interest back to the bank. And then typically when it comes to the hauling cost for the oats and the grain, the dairy producer or beef producer has typically come to our place, picked it up, and so the hauling cost is on them, so we're not going to include that within our budget. We have our land cost still at $180. And then our labor, actually that's going to be at 0 for this case. Overhead, home, personal, and then here's where we'll add our custom hire. So to have the oats windrowed and combine, that's $25, and then the baling is additional. So there we're at $33 an acre. So we'll go ahead and click save. So here where we were not producing any crop and just planting that down, we were losing $200 or $421, and now we're only losing $113. Granted, it's our land cost in this case on this zone. Decreased return on investment, and we have our total zone profitability. So after we have our zone created, we're going to come in next and compare scenarios. So on the left-hand side, we have our 2015 actual production scenario based off 2015 performance budget, and then we have our 2017 planning scenario where we included an oat crop within the field. And so you can see we've taken profitability up by about $10. We also increased return on investment by about 3%, along with production efficiency, increased that $7 per, or 7 bushels per $1,000 spent. Good opportunity ratio is still about the same. We decreased our working capital opportunity by about $1,000, and due to that added revenue, we were actually able to drop our break-even commodity price about 60 cents. So that's going to be huge coming into play because we're pulling off added revenue instead of not planning anything there and treating it like our loadout zone, typical loadout zone. And then finally, we were able to increase our total field profitability by about $1,000 within this field based off of projected lower commodity prices. So things like that. So you can see we eliminated that area. So, and we've ran this on actually quite a few fields. Some of our more highly variable fields, such as a field where it's highly variable, we can drop off corn production wise by 80 to 100 bushel, where we can typically only produce 120 bushel corn. In that instance, this alternative management, we're just really asking this zone to lose less than corn production. But in this case, we can produce corn on this area, but what the problematic area and problematic are when we have a soybean crop on this. Even though it's a low input, soybeans are short. Typically, they're so short the combine, the bean head, has a hard time picking them. So we leave more on the ground with anything than anything. And so, and also we we decided in 2015 in 2017 to plant a cover crop heavy mix to help break up that compaction and start to rebuild some nitrogen in that area for corn production. So then we can print this page. So now I'm going to open the floor and see if anyone might have any questions. And while we wait for questions to roll in, I want to let you know that this webinar will be posted on YouTube after it is completed. So you can go check it out, rewatch it on our YouTube page, and that's Ag Solver, the Ag Solver YouTube page. So, and you'll see links on Twitter and Facebook on our social media sites to this webinar. So if there is no more questions, I want to thank everyone for joining and listening to our August 31st Intermediate Planning webinar. If you have any questions, you can give me a call or shoot me an email. I'll pull up my contact information one last time. So, and I'm more than happy to work with you one-on-one, creating these various scenarios on your own fields. I look forward to talking to you. Thank you.